We're at FailFest 2014, and we're continuing our interviews with different speakers here. We also are lucky to have Jeb Banner here from SmallBox. He's the CEO of SmallBox, an Indianapolis marketing firm and web development firm. So thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us.
Thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
You're more than welcome. Hey, we run in some of the same channels here, but we are always looking at you as an organization because you guys are innovative, regularly focusing on your culture and giving a lot of lift to what's happening in your organization. So whenever we're talking about the culture of changing the culture of understanding what failure is and embracing failure and getting lessons learned from it, you certainly are a prime example of how to do it in your organization.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell me a bit about how you've asked for that type of culture to be grown inside of your organization? What have you done to help springboard that along? No pun intended.
Okay. That's almost an inside joke. Yeah, interesting. We went through quite a journey. Like most organizations, we started off kind of doing one thing well, and then that led to opportunities to do other things. And then we started doing those things. So we started off building content management systems, and then suddenly we were designing websites, and then we were doing SEO, and then we were marketing, and then we were doing brands. And we at one point took a step back and said, okay, just because we can do all these things, should we be doing these? Why are we doing these things?
Right.
And so in a lot of ways, we failed to be intentional early on. We failed to really know the purpose, mission, or vision of the business, failed to understand our values as a group and how we wanted to behave. And you can get away with that to some degree when you're a startup because you just have the energy of that organization and the successes and everything that goes with it that kind of blinds you to the potential of getting off track. When we kind of got off track around 2010, 2011, we had grown to 13 or 14, maybe 15 people, and we were monetarily doing okay, but I didn't know why I was running the business anymore. And I asked all my employees, like, why does SmallBox exist? And I got 15 answers. And I realized that we had gotten lost.
We're all off message, and everyone has their own perspective about it. Yeah, absolutely.
So I recognized I had failed as a leader to lead, and so I basically put myself into my own ad hoc business school. I got a business coach, I started reading, I started seeking mentors, and I just kind of retooled my whole approach to leadership, and I moved more into a servant leadership model of like,
oh, fantastic.
How can I serve this organization as its CEO instead of as an owner thinking, how do I take value from it? So that was a shift.
Wow.
And so there was a lot of things that happened that came out of it, and part of it was me letting go and creating space for my employees to have more ownership of the business in terms of their ideas and vision. And so we started doing things like Factory Week, where we take a week off every 6 months and we work on ourselves, and we don't do client work, and we challenge ourselves to disrupt, to call it quarantine disruption. To kind of,
I love it.
Kind of elevate what we do. And that all led to what I think of as SmallBox 2.0, which is the culture-powered marketing thing. The big aha moment for us was that modern brand experience originates in the employee experience. That if the employees believe in what the brand promises, if they're able to speak the language of the brand, they'll create the customer experience.
Absolutely.
As well as the products and services around it that then creates the brand experience. And so why not go to the root and focus on the employee experience? And so we had to rebuild our company essentially around that philosophy. And we're still at the end of that rebuild right now. And made a ton of mistakes along the way. So today I got to talk about some of the things we learned and the mistakes we made.
Well, okay, I'm going to challenge you on that. Can you tell me your biggest, your most important failure, and what lessons were learned from that were instrumental in some of this that we're talking about?
Placing the client in front of the team. I did that one time, and we had a horrible situation where I sacrificed my team for the client, and I basically sided with the client on a high level instead of my team. And this is the way I think about business. My job is to take care of my employees. My employee's job is to be committed to the business. that takes care of the clients.
Right.
So it's kind of this weird dynamic where I, as a leader, I have this sacred trust with my employees to invest in them as individuals, to build them, to care about their careers more than they do. In exchange, they need to care about the business's mission and vision and everything else more than their careers.
Absolutely.
So they hand their careers over to us, we develop them, we invest in them. In exchange, they follow the mission of the business and they take care of the clients.
You're building trust.
Right, but I didn't do that, and I put the client ahead of the employee. Right. I think about chickens, and I compare employees to chickens. And it's a terrible analogy, but I had chickens one summer.
It's okay, you guys aren't chickens.
Yeah, you're not chickens, but think of it this way. I had chickens, and I noticed that unless I gave my chickens lots of air and sunlight and freedom to run around and good food, the eggs were not very good. The eggs were good when they were happy. Right. My number one job to serve my clients is to have really engaged employees.
There you go.
So I failed to do that, and I almost lost a key employee because I was putting that client, who was well-intended, ahead of the well-being of my employee.
Yeah.
And that was a big failure.
Now, there's no way that you would have known this just starting out.
No.
And I think that's a very key factor, is that we all learn as we go, and we all start with maybe different decks of cards, so to speak, and different skill sets. But through the career path or through the business growth path process, you come across these pivotal moments. What can you give as a guide point to maybe a new entrepreneurial company? Because what you're saying here is that they may not even get to a point of that type of decision making until 5 years, 6 years into their business model. If that, what can you give them as a steerage point of how to keep their ear to the rail, or what should they be paying attention to make sure that they learn from your lesson right here?
I think they need mentorship.
That's a great concept.
Early on.
Yeah.
I think they need to talk to more seasoned entrepreneurs that can say, look, these are the things that are going to be coming your way. This is sort of the next step in your growth. I think having a business coach is a wonderful way to start instilling accountability into the day-to-day of your work, as well as the culture of the business. So the worst thing that can happen in a business is to have an unaccountable leader, a leader that's outside the law. The law is essentially the core values of the business.
Right.
It's the behaviors. For us, it's curiosity, courage, collaboration, and persistence.
Oh, very cool.
So those are our 4 core values that drive our behavior. I can't be outside of that. If I'm not behaving that way, anyone from intern to leadership needs to be able to come to me and say, hey, in that meeting, you dominated. You did not collaborate. Right? You were directive, not collaborative. And you have to be able to demonstrate a willingness to be held accountable. And that's a really hard thing for people that are driven to do, is to say, look, I am a servant of this business. Whatever I need to do with my unique skill set, which is a leadership skill set, to grow this business, I need to make that the priority, even if it requires me taking lumps and feedback and being held accountable.
That's fantastic. I mean, 2 key things right there. Being a servant to your business, I think, is an incredible approach, and it's not really embraced nearly as much as it should. I mean, business owners are absolutely servants, and they should be looking at that not only for their employees, but also the clients that they do work for. They are entrusted with a heck of a lot they are trusted to begin with. And
there's a lot of risk and opportunity there.
You better believe it. But along with that, you also have the factor of looking at and keeping yourself in check. Where entrepreneurs are, by their very nature, type A. They're very, for the most part, they're rogue, and they're going to be that type of individual that's a hunter, and you need to bring it back into the fold and make sure that you're playing by the same rule book that you're expecting everybody else to play by. That's a fantastic couple of concepts right there. Well, I thank you so much for your time, Jeb.
Thank you. Thanks, Aaron.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
And grab lunch.
Absolutely. Well, we got Jeb Banner, FailFest 2014.